Alright, hey guys, this is Thursday, April 23rd for 7th grade science. So, this is going to be starting on page 437 at section 12.2. So again, this is going to be a little bit longer lesson. We're going to try to get all of section 2 done today. It's about 9 pages. So just take your time reading through that. And then we're going to have questions 1 through 7 to answer. So if you want to go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and read pages 437 through 446. And then come back and I'll go over the gist of it. Alright, so on page 437, we have our first definition there is a root. It says, although seldom seen, roots are an important part of the tree. Like roots of herbaceous plants, tree roots occur as either tap roots or spreading roots. Tap roots are large main roots that go deep into the ground and frequently have secondary horizontal roots branching off the main root. The tap root enables trees to reach the groundwater deep within the earth. And so basically they're going to go straight down and reach really deep down into the earth. Spreading roots are similar to fibrous roots found on herbaceous plants. The primary difference is the root's diameters. A spreading root system consists of several equally sized roots that spread out within the first 1 to 2 meters of the surface soil. There is no dominant root. The tree's root system may extend 3 times farther out than its crown does. Trees with spreading roots, which include the Algolman spruce and the American elm, usually grow in areas that receive good rain. And so the idea here is just that if you have not a lot of rainfall where basically the water table is really down deep, then the tree is going to have, for a tree to take root and actually survive, it's going to have roots that go very deep down into the ground, and it's going to have to spend its energy growing roots that go pretty much straight down and kind of just spread out sparsely. And so that would be your tap roots. And then if you have a place that receives quite a bit of rainfall or receives good rainfall, then basically the water table is going to be a little bit higher, and so the roots don't have to go down as deep. And so what they can do is, instead of having to go deep down for this pool of water, they can just spread out really far along the surface. And so they're not going to go very deep, but they're going to spread use their energy spreading way out to the sides. And so the roots for those type, that's going to be your spreading roots, and those roots can actually extend far outside of what you see the tree. So you see the branches are going to go like this, but the roots can actually extend way out there and way out there. And so that's basically your 2 types of roots. And so basically it says as the roots probe through the soil, they also anchor the tree by packing the soil grains tightly against each other. And so it basically just goes through there and detailing a little bit more information. And so if you flip the page to page 438, it says a closer look. It says scooped up roots. So God provided certain tree species with specialized roots to help them survive in the environment. Adventitious roots are roots that grow from the plant's stem branches, leaves, or mature woody roots. These roots usually work differently than normal roots and may perform several tasks such as gas exchange or tree support. Then it talks about aerial roots. These roots are often used to stabilize and support the tree. And it kind of just goes through a couple different ones there. You have prop roots, which are another type of aerial root that support the plant. Kind of gives you that description. Then you have the strangler fig, which are several species in the same genus as the bunions. They use aerial roots to live as parasites on other trees. And so they kind of give you those illustrations there as well. Flipping to page 439, it says the main stem of a tree is the trunk. A tree trunk consists of several basic layers: the bark, the cambium, the wood, and the pith. Bark is the rough outer covering of a tree. The bark is divided into 2 regions. The outer bark is designed to protect the tree from injury and attack by animals, fungi, or fire. The living inner bark is composed of a vascular phloem, which tissues that transport food from the leaves to the roots. The young stem does not have the outer bark. Instead, the inner bark is covered by protected epidermal layer of cells. And so it kind of gives you that example there. It gives you where, on the bottom of page 439, it shows you how you have the growth rings and the mature wood, the heartwood, and the sapwood. Then it gives you the example there of the xylem, phylum, and vascular cambium. All right, page 440. Ring growth cells called the vascular cambium separates the bark layers from the woody tissues of a tree. The layer produces wood and bark, increasing the diameter of the trunk. This growth of the stem in diameter is called secondary growth. Wood is the main tissue of the trunk. It consists of a xylem tissue made of dead cells lined end to end to transport water and minerals up the leaves. Each year, the wood produced by the vascular cambium forms in layers called annual growth rings. The accumulation of these layers of wood gradually increase the diameter of the trunk. So as the tree grows, as those layers kind of form, it increases the tree diameter, and that you can actually see when you cut the tree down. You can actually see how it grew over the year in tree rings. Next, you have there on page 440, you have the central core of a young woody stem is called the pith. Then it talks about the heartwood there. These deposits harden and darken the wood. This hard and active dead wood is called the heartwood. And so the heartwood is going to be dead wood. The functioning wood supporting the dead heartwood is called the sapwood. So you have the sapwood that is actually functioning, the heartwood that is actually dead. And so again, on page 439, if you see that, you see the heartwood is basically that inner portion of the tree trunk that basically is no longer functioning, it's dead. And so it's usually a darker color. And then you get the lighter color towards the outside, that's the sapwood that is actually functioning. So that takes us over into page 441. Closer look. It says stories from a stump, and so they go through a couple there. You have the study of using tree rings from living trees or old lumber to reveal past events and determine a tree's age. Is dendrochronology. So dendrochronology is useful only with trees in temperate climates. In tropical climates, the tree grows year-round and produces multiple rings annually. So the idea is that basically you have these seasonal growths, and so basically you can look at the tree ring and basically see, okay, this on the actual wood, you can say, okay, this is the portion that it grew in this year, this is the portion that it grew in this year, so you can actually see when the tree was actually growing. And so you can actually measure, for example, if you were digging at an excavation site or something, and you actually found a block of wood, a tree, basically a stump, then you could actually determine based on dendrochronology when that stump was deposited in the actual excavation site. So like archaeologists can use this a lot of times because they can say, okay, here's our artifact, we have a piece of wood in the same layer by that artifact, so then I can measure and see, okay, when was this tree alive, when was it cut, how did it grow, and basically you give details that can actually help you date your archaeology, date where you're actually in and what period of time you're in. And so that deals with the tree rings. And so that continues on to page 442. So 442, that kind of gives you an example there of that gives you some examples of the fire scar, good growth versus bad growth, dry weather. And so they're not going to be uniform. Sometimes you're going to get bigger growth, sometimes you get smaller growth. So if you're in a climate in an environment that allowed it to grow well, then the distance from ring to ring is going to be bigger because it grew more. If you have like a drought where you're not growing the tree as much, then those are going to be closer together. Those rings are going to be closer together. So that kind of gives you the example there. Branching out on page 442, it says besides the trunk, the stem of a tree includes smaller divisions called branches. The largest branches or limbs or burrows of the smallest branches or twigs. Studying a twig is a good way to learn about branches. At the end of the twig and on the side of the twig, there are small buds. Buds allow the stem to grow in grow in length to produce new branches, flowers, and leaves. You have the terminal bud, which is found at the end of a twig, allows the stem to grow in length. Bud scales cover the terminal buds during dormancy to protect the delicate, underdeveloped tree parts from the winter weather. Since bud scales fall off only once a year, you can count the number of bud scale scars to determine the branch's age. And so you can actually date the twig based on the bud scars. And then it shows you that on the top of page 443. It shows you what the scars are and how you can kind of date the growth in the year and all that of the stem. So next we have the growth and length is called the primary growth. Page 443, it says lateral buds on the sides of the twig allow the stem to produce new branches. They are responsible for the area that the crown covers. Terminal bud produces hormones that control the growth of the lateral buds. The node on page 443 is the place on the stem that leaves grow out of. Then you have small pores called lenticles allow air to enter the stem and provide for respiration. So leaves vary by location on the plant and by the habitat of the plant. You have the cuticle, which is a waxy protective layer on the leaf that encourages water retention. You have shade leaves, or the bottom of the tree, that tend to be larger in surface area and thinner. You have sun leaves, which are found at the tops of trees, are thicker and smaller. Winter preparation is a feature unique to deciduous tree. It's the ability to lose their leaves in preparation for the winter. So deciduous trees lose their leaves. Looking at page 444, you have as the seasons change, the leaf sends its leftover nutrients and sugars back into the stem before the abscission layer forms. The abscission layer is a single layer of cells that forms at the base of the petiole to sever the leaf from the branch. And so that's what causes the branch to actually fall from the tree. It's the abscission layer, so that's actually the process by which the leaf will fall. And then you have all that remains on the tree, the leaf scar. So all that remains on that tree is where the leaf used to be, a leaf scar. And then it talks about the trees in the desert there. You have the cacti. Then 445 talks about the cacti some more. You have the prickly pear, and then the saguaro. So that just kind of details some of the trees in the desert. And so that basically takes us through the lesson. So again, it was pages 437 through 446. The questions for this were 1 through 7, and so answer 1 through 7. And then if you have any questions for me, just get up with me and I'll do my best to answer those for you. Thank you.